Good morning. This is Mona, and this is my morning view. Today, Spring Edition 2025, it is Memory Monday. So, I'm going to tell you about the weather, only because it's been a thing. It is drizzling right now. It's raining through the night. Everything's wet, drizzly. It was like super hot for 3 days last week. But for the rest of the month of May and June, it has been rain. Hit or miss, rain. So that's what I'm talking about the weather for this moment. For those of you that know, I started out with the weather and then moved on. And I said I wasn't going to do the weather anymore, but this is a thing. All right, so Memory Monday. I had a bunch of things from last week in my head that I thought would be great Memory Mondays. And of course, did I remember? No, I did not. So, did I write it down? No, I did not. Certainly I'll remember this. No, I did not. That should be my tip for Tuesday to myself, right? All right, so, woke up this morning, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know. Ran through a bunch of things through my head. I'm like, that's more of a Feisty Friday. That's more of a Tips Tuesday. You know, what am I going to talk about? And it just dawned on me, a conversation that I had with my husband. And again, this is probably more like a Tips Tuesday, but it'll work for Memory Monday, because we're going back into my memory of things that may have happened, or things that I was taught at one time, and all these different things. So there was this conversation my husband and I had about the hierarchy of importance. And the way I learned it when I was a young Christian was God, family, work. There was 3 components to that: God, family, and work. And for the most part, they expressed God as anything to do with God. So it wasn't just prayer. It wasn't just, they didn't even talk about silence. You did all the talking in prayer. Very little listening back in those days. And it wasn't just reading your word, although, man, you had to read that word. And, if you could read it in a year, give yourself a little check and a gold star on your calendar that you have marked out your time with God. And then it was church activities. Your volunteerism for the church. Are you doing the nursery? Are you in kids ministry where you're Sunday school teacher? Are you a Sunday school teacher? And there was very specific, these are male jobs, these are female jobs. Very specific. Back in the day. I'm just going through Memory Monday here. I'm not saying this is how it is. I'm going to get to that. Gentlemen, are you an usher? Are you on the soundboard? By the way, that is a thankless job. People only know when something happens and that it's your fault. Never the person holding the mic. Or any technical things that are out of your control. What are the things that you do for the church? Are you on the benevolence ministry? Do you help with meals when somebody passes? Do you cook cookies for the pastor and his wife during Pastor Appreciation Week? All this gender, you do this, you do that, and if you're doing this, you're doing them as unto the Lord, so that's God first, right? That you're cleaning the toilets at the church. You have to start low, cleaning the toilets. And then eventually you get to move to usher. And then after you've moved to usher, then you can move to, maybe assistant pastor. You're going up the line, and eventually you'll have your own church, but you got to start at those toilets. The funny thing of it is every time you move and you go to a new church, you start at the bottom again. Unless you have the golden ticket, of course. And that's that, you look the part. You look like you are already ready for ministry. So therefore, we are going to give you a higher level, especially if you have the academics behind you. Let me tell you about academics. Does not make you smarter, doesn't make you more knowledgeable, especially in the things of the Lord. You have the academics, and that's it. That's it. Doesn't make you more spiritual. But there's something about if you have your degree in theology, you are held esteem above the others because you're more knowledgeable of the things of God. No. So putting God first in those days, we're doing all the things. Doing the things of the church. And then family was just vague. It just said family. And then it was work. Because they didn't want you to put work above God, and they didn't want you to put work above family. Although most people did put work above family because that's how they fed their family. That's how they were able to sustain. And then, if you were going to college in order to better yourself, to get a better paycheck, there were sacrifices that you needed to make, and therefore family was usually the time essence of sacrifice. So that's why it was important for the wife to stay home with the children so that the husband can, do the stuff. But at the same time, husband, don't neglect your family. It caught you in this catch-22 type of thing. And work was do the best you possibly could at work so that you could get promoted. Because that was important. It meant God was blessing you. Except for there are some workspaces that are toxic and some workspaces that you will never get ahead because, one, Holy Spirit may not be there. Oh, Holy Spirit is everywhere. Don't get me wrong on that. He is everywhere. However, your blessing may not be in that space. And you may not be supposed to be there. Really cool spider web down here. That is a squirrel moment. Had to mention it. Don't know if you'll see it if I show it to you. But, when it's misty out. Isn't that cool? Thought I'd share that with you because it was cool looking. All right. So that is the web that we get caught in at work. When we think that as long as we do it as unto the Lord, that we're good and things will work out. But that's not always the case. And some of that time was because we were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Sometimes it's not even the wrong place, it's just at the wrong time. You have to be in the right place at the right time. It's a little bit of convergence. So, for example, our conversation last night about Thomas, how Thomas was not in the room when Jesus showed up after the resurrection the first time. And so Thomas was not in the right place at the right time. And so he's like, I can't believe this unless I see it myself. Unless I see his scars and I touch his side, I can't see it. I just can't. It's beyond, my ability to realize that he is risen from the dead, as you say. And And so Jesus appeared again. He met Thomas where Thomas was. And so he came in and he said, here's my piercings. Here, take your finger and put it into my side. And Thomas believed because he saw. And Jesus says, you're blessed because you see me. But blessed are those who don't see and believe. Those who don't see the piercings physically on my hands or the wound on the side. If for those people like today, us, those followers of Christ that believe he is who he is and he did what he did and he is doing what he is doing and he's going to finish what he started. For those people, they are more blessed because they haven't seen and yet believe. So right place at the right time. Now Jesus came back and met him where he needed to be. And he'll do that for you. When you are in the wrong place at the wrong time and you go, I've missed it. Remember that if you want it, he'll meet you at the right, he'll meet you at your space. But you're not supposed to stay at that space. You're supposed to level up, which is another thing altogether. So this conversation of who do we put first? God, family, church. I've learned a few things. That's why this should have been a Tips Tuesday. For one, the church is not God. Church is not God. And all the things you do for the church is not getting you brownie points with God, nor is it creating a closer relationship with God. Ooh, Feisty Friday moment. We're having them all together, all in Memory Monday. Okay, so just letting you know that much. It's starting to pick up on the rain. I'm going to move over here. Come on up. Don't lay down there in the rain. Come. She's having a hard time following directions today. I don't know what's going on with her. She didn't want to come out. I was like, hey, it's not raining. Let's go out. And you want in? All right. I'm going to put your dish right here. Okay? I know you probably won't eat it, but you want to eat your dish there? No, I'm not coming in. I'll stand here, though. I'll stand right here. Right here with you. Okay? Yeah, she's having a rough morning, and it may have been from me getting out of bed with the alarm running, and my eyes were not completely open, and she was on that side of the bed where the alarm clock is. And normally she's not there. Normally she's over in her crate or over by the door. Normally my side where I trip over her. This time she was on the other side of the bed, and when I got up, I stepped on her. She got up. I fell back, hit the back of my head on the nightstand. I'm like... So yeah, so I'm running a little behind this morning. You know she's the star of the show, right? Well, she thinks she is. So we got to talk about her at least. If you don't see her, we've got to at least talk about her. All right, so where was I on this thing of God first and not the church is not God. Spending time with God is in His Word, in silence, listening to what He has to say, in prayer, in praise, in worship. These are all very different things. And we can cover those different things on different days if you would like. I believe I've done that in the past. I know I have definitely talked about the difference between worship and praise. So all of those things that draw us closer to God, because we take the first step. We're the first step of the magnet. You know, God woos us. He woos us. But it doesn't, it's not activated until we take the first step towards God, and then he draws near to us as we draw near to him. Talked about that last week, I believe. Could have been the week before. Time flies. So, you know I'm envisioning little clocks with wings, right? Because I'm very visual. All right, so God first. That still stands, God first. But honing in on what exactly that is and what it isn't. It is not the church. 2, me. You. You are first. They took that out of the equation. You need to take care of your body, your spiritual needs, your health, your time. You need to have time for self-care, for what's going on with you, because if you cannot help people, if you are ill, if you are spiritually ill, you cannot help people. If you are physically ill, you are limited to your help to others. So unless you take care of yourself, the rest of it doesn't matter. I know people that are no longer here because they didn't take care of themselves. I also know some people that took care of themselves physically, but spiritually they were empty. Well, they're no longer here. Part of that Feisty Friday moment, and I'm not saying everybody that's gone neglected themselves or was spiritually inept. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I know some. And there's probably many that we probably don't even categorize into that because we don't want to go there. Because for the most part, just believe you'll see them again, because we don't know where they were before their dying breath. So take care of yourself. 3, family. Now, family within itself has a hierarchy, okay? Husband and wife, if you are married, that comes first. It comes first. That doesn't mean subordination. Woman, obey me, because the Word of God says you must obey me. But listen, it says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. Exactly what does that mean? He was willing to give his life for her. It is self-sacrifice. And I don't see a heck of a lot of that going on in marriage, especially in my generation and above. In the Christian realm. In the Christian realm. So this is not about women subordinating to your husbands. This is about putting each other first in the marriage. It's talking about putting your marriage first in the marriage. Proactively doing things to support the marriage. Second is your children. Now it looks like your children are first, especially when they're little babies, because little babies need everything done for them. So it feels like your marriage is decreasing as this baby is in your life now. But it isn't. It's just, it has to do with the time that you have to spend with your baby in order to have your baby healthy and functionable and, growing emotionally strong, physically strong, And as that child grows up, there will be different needs and different things that you will have to do as a parent. There is a self-sacrificing as a parent to raise a child, and you are to raise them into the Lord. You are to raise them how they are supposed to go forward, not how you want them to go forward. So, just because you were the star of your football team in high school and you feel like your son has to be the star of the football team so that he can go beyond and become the star of the college and maybe pro ball, or if you were a dancer and you wanted your child to be your the best dancer out there, so you continually throw them into program after program after program, and all along all they wanted to do was to paint. That's just throwing that out there. Sculpt. They wanted to be an artist, but not a physical dancing artist. They wanted to be a creation of things artist, So that's what we call living vicariously through your children. That is not how you raise your children. That is not what God wants. He doesn't want many versions of you. He wants many versions of him, but he wants, everybody is unique. And so he has a specific thing for that child that's inside of them. So you have your marriage and your children. Then if you have extended family, if you are taking care of an elderly person, if you are taking care of one of your parents or multiple parents, that is high on the list of family. They need you to take care of them. They cannot function in the form that they once took care of you. So now you are taking care of them. It pulls from us. It pulls from every aspect of our being to have to take care of someone elderly. And it's because you remember when they could do it for themselves, but now they can't. And so it becomes frustrating for you. But if you have your priorities straight, God first, taking care of yourself second, sustaining your marriage, and by the time you're taking care of elderly parents, it's usually your children are grown. So it's a transition from taking care of your children to taking care of your parents. And so that's part of that family hierarchy of family. So God first, you second, family third, but inside family there is subcategories. Work next. Work. God says if you don't work, you don't eat. You have to work. God gave Adam and Eve a job in the garden. They were to tend the garden. It was an easy tending. Easy peasy, but it was work. They had to work. It wasn't until sin came that they had to toil. That's when the weeds and the thorns and the bugs that, like mosquitoes and ticks and, those nasty creatures from hell, no-see-ums that get me every single year. Although, I must say, they are like the size of a normal mosquito bite now. They're not, that welt that used to be all over my body about this big where it was burning and itching and creatures from hell, I'm telling you. So anyways, it each year it has diminished a little bit more and a little bit more, so my immune system is getting used to those little boogers. So anyways, that's when that came in. Sin brought in toil. It brought in hard work. And so you have to remember that Christ came and nailed all the consequences of sin, all the requirements on the cross. So all the things that caused sin, that Satan caused are now nailed to the cross. And so we don't have to toil, but we end up choosing to toil because that's how we were raised. I was raised to work hard, and you give your employer all you got for the time that you're there, because if you give him all you've got for the time that you're there, it'll go well for you. Wrong. That's a lie. It's a lie. That doesn't mean not to do anything for your employer. He is paying you. And so you are to do your job, but you do not have to go above and beyond in thinking. You can go above and beyond if you are that type of person. And that's cool. And doing it as unto the Lord. But let me tell you what doing it as unto the Lord feels like. It feels joyous. It gives you life. It gives you strength. It does not drain you. It does not have you murmuring underneath your breath about your employer, about how bad your employer is. That is not unto the Lord. That is unto self. Why are you doing it? Are you hoping to get the promotion? Because you can hope until the sun goes down 1,000,000 times, and it's not going to happen if it's not going to happen. And doing that is not what's going to get you there. Oh, all the gurus say it is? No. No. It's not. Oh, I'm sounding like a Feisty Friday moment. I've done all that. And more. Wrong place, wrong time. Wrong attitude. Eventually it became a wrong attitude. Because what I was doing it for was for myself. I can prove to them that I can do this job. And because I can prove to them that I can do this job, they're going to love me. And as I'm better than everybody else, they'll promote me. No. Wrong place, wrong time. Or maybe it was just the wrong place. For years, people told me I was in the wrong place. You need to go somewhere else. That place is toxic. And it was. It was horrible. I could tell you some stories. Sometimes we self-sabotage. Sometimes. But give your work a good effort. Give your work a good effort. And seek the Lord on whether that's the space where you're supposed to be. Because you know what? It might be really terrible for you there, and God has you there for a purpose. But that's something you need to seek the Lord about, and you need to find out what is your motivation for being there. What is your number one reason? Because if it's for the money, it might be the wrong place. God supplies what you need for the vision that He has for you. I won't go into that one. Another story. After work, others. Others, what does others look like? You have others as in the church community. Church community is a big thing they're talking about these days. Everything's all about community. They want to see the Acts church in motion. They want to see the way it was in Acts in church life today. A very different era. Probably more doable in the Middle East than it is here in the United States because of our independent spirits, and we can do this ourselves, and we don't need no stinking community because in the community you tend to get hurt. I've been told that in the community is where you get healed. I myself have not witnessed that. I know that there are some that have been healed in community. Most of the time they were healed in community from wounds outside the community. So I have not seen that yet. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying that I have not seen it personally. And so church is where that falls into. It's like five down. You have God first, you second, family third, subdivisions of that. Work next, because if you don't work, you don't eat. That is not toil. It's just where you're receiving your income. Let me tell you this. Your workplace is not your provider. That's what I was alluding to over there. Your workplace is not your provider. God is your provider. He's doing it through your workplace and maybe some other means. So it's not the place that is your provider. It's not your employer. It's not your job. Because you can move to a different job and still be provided for. And that is no longer where that provision is coming from, because that was never where your provision was coming from. That's part of that, oh, if I impress them, I'll get promoted and I'll get more money. God is not impressed by that attitude. And God is your provider. And then 5, the church. The others. The people in your community. Your neighbors. You may place friends in this category, or you may place friends in this category. The family. Some friends are like family, and some friends are more like acquaintances, close acquaintances. And you want to help them. You want to be there for them. You want to give them some of your time and energy. However, 5 down the list. All right. That is my Memory Monday. I was taught wrong for decades. God, family, work. And they threw church in with God, and God and the church is not God. What you do for the church is not your God time. So, in case you missed it in the beginning, just reiterating that. Because that was the conversation my husband and I was having last night, because he had never heard that. He didn't know what the priority was. I've mentioned it for 40 odd years that we've been married. But in the old style of God, family, and work. I never broke it down to the nitty-gritty of what it looked like, because I didn't know the nitty-gritty of what it looked like. But I've learned a few things along the way. So maybe it was good that he didn't hear how I was taught by religious systems. I spend more time listening to what God has to say than religious systems these days. All right. It is definitely drizzly, rainy out. So I'm going to let you go. Thank you, Tracy, for watching. Blessings, everybody. See you tomorrow for Tips Tuesday. For those on YouTube, subscribe. Hit the subscribe button and like, comment, share. If you find the content valuable, join me. All right. For those of you that are on Facebook, like, comment, share. And go over to my YouTube channel, Mona E. Harrison. Mona E. Harrison. It's different than my Facebook profile. So Mona E. Harrison. Go over there. Peruse the ones that are uploaded. This one will be uploaded either tonight or tomorrow, and then you can watch it in its entirety. But in the meantime, you can go and you can peruse. There's some there from the last 4 months, and in the meantime, we are in the process of downloading the 9 years of content into a filing system where they can be uploaded into YouTube eventually. Right now, you got 3 months worth of videos. So those will probably be edited, shortened, brought to a more honed space before they are uploaded into YouTube. But go over there, Mona E. Harrison, and subscribe. All right. Blessings, everybody. Have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow for Tips Tuesday.